Good morning, friends. It's really good to be here this morning. Thanks for joining us with Journey Home Meditation for the morning sit today. My name is Michael, and I'm going to be doing most of the talking this morning. But I'm happy to be here and happy to be sharing my voice. So it's been a little while since I was able to make it in the morning and sit and do a morning sit with everyone. There are things that, well, let me actually back up before I start going down any kind of road of qualifications or anything. I just want to say, I will be in and out irregularly, and that's okay. And we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I guess I feel pretty good about that. But I'm sitting here this morning in the home office of Journey Home Support Services, and our air cooler has gone down. And so this morning I got here at 7:30 and it was a toasty 85 degrees, and now it's already almost 90 degrees in here. It's warmer inside the room than it is outside the room. And I'm not sure what we'll be able to do about that, but it does bring me into some thoughts about what it is to be uncomfortable. And that's something I think about a lot, actually, and I probably talk about it a lot in the program. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't really ever listen back to the old broadcasts unless I'm just checking the audio quality on my way to work or something. And so I haven't really had a chance to take in how often I repeat myself. And pardon me. I'm curious about that. So if you've been a person who's tuned in occasionally or regularly, uh, let me know if I'm repeating myself a lot. But I guess we all have these cycles in our lives and these things that keep coming up, right? One of my favorite albums in the last few years is Rhythm Drive by John Forte. And one of the lines that he has is transmission from the mothership says we're destined to repeat what we struggle with. And I think that really lands for me, because I see that in my cycles, when I do struggle, when I do suffer, it's generally a repetition of something I have struggled with before. So there's struggling and there's suffering, right? To struggle is it's a part of growth. It's a part of learning new movement. It's a part of building into some sort of a transformative space. Like, there's many levels to which struggle can be um, absolutely beneficial, right? But then there's suffering, and suffering is when we reject the struggle. It's when we reject the difficulty of the work or the uncomfortableness of the moment, and do everything in our power to escape it. Whether that's escaping it mentally by um, doing anything we can to dissociate or distract, or we could also over engage mentally as a way to avoid or reject something. And I see that happening a lot right now, being, this is an election year here in the US for the president. And I got to be really honest with you. I'm not so sure how much I put stock into the importance of who is the president, as much as I have a feeling and it probably a belief that um, that's just going to be a gauge for where we are in our emotional temperament collectively as a country. And when Trump was elected in 2016, I was not shocked at all. Uh, but I have witnessed um, a large shift in the way we treat one another in our culture as a whole. Now, there are microcultures that have always existed, where people have behaved and treated each other in abhorrent ways. And that has been a dominant culture of ours in the past for a long time. But I do see that we were on a steady swing towards more social engagement and kindness. But then there was some kind of a backlash that's coming. Like we're in one of these cycles of suffering. We're in a suffering cycle. Um, and I I think that what I see happening this year is that there are those of us who are disengaging as a survival mechanism and dissociating and trying to not be a part of the politics at all. And there are those of us who are over engaging, as a way to feel empowered and emboldened in a way within this cycle, this struggle that we're currently experiencing. And if you have seen anything of these debates, or I mean, it, there was a season of American Horror Story called Cult, and it's almost as if the elections have been scripted by Ryan Murphy. It's like this is it's hard to take serious, and it's hard to not take serious at the same time. It's extremely difficult on either side of that. But the cycle of struggle that we're experiencing is coming with a load of suffering. And so whether we're disengaging or over engaging, it is both a tactic to not be with the uncomfortable and difficult feelings that are there. Um, and I think that that's important to recognize that, um, for me, sitting in this very uncomfortable room right now, this is a place where I usually have I'm the most comfortable. I have the most amount of comfort, right? I helped to create a space so that I could be extremely comfortable, so that I could make offerings that I have, and in doing that, I'm hoping to make the space comfortable for anyone that comes in. So to be this uncomfortable in my space is a really good challenge. And it's like 90 degrees in here. That's pretty warm for 8:30 in the morning. Uh, so to experience this is just there's levels, right? We have levels. There's the physical levels, there's the emotional levels, there's the psycho-spiritual levels, the thought levels, all of these different planes that we exist in simultaneously. And to be this uncomfortable physically pushes us to remain present, emotionally and mentally, psychologically, all of those things, right? And it's the same thing coming from the other side. If my emotional state is this uncomfortable, then it will extend outward into my other planes of existence as well. It's like those Venn diagrams where everything starts to overlap, right? And you are the thing in the center, and but everything is affected by everything else. And there's a point where everything is touching and rubbing up against something else. And the practice that I've been working with and developing based on a lot of different teachers, guidance, has been a practice of being able to sit with discomfort in a way that is inviting and welcoming. And it can be really difficult depending on which plane of existence that discomfort is coming to us. And I don't know if it's more difficult when it comes from my emotional space, my mental space, my physical space, my spiritual space. I don't know if it's more difficult when the suffering is from somebody else to sit in the room with that discomfort, or if the suffering is more difficult when it's just coming from within myself. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I know that when I work on it on one level, I'm working on it on all of them. So, that said, it's important not to only focus on one level of practice. I could sit here every morning if this place were air conditioned and I could have a 75-degree space and I could have my hot pot of tea and uh, life could be just so pleasant physically, and I could talk about my emotional struggles and we could focus on all of those every day. But that level of focus is going to extend out into other places. But if I don't have a fully realized experience and be able to incorporate every bit of myself into every bit of those experiences, then I am going to have great difficulty when I do struggle in a place that I'm not practiced in working with the suffering of that struggle. I hope that makes sense. Um, and that's to say that, one of the things that we talk about often in these discussions is spiritual bypassing, and it's something we see a lot in certain cultures, um, microcultures within our greater culture, is the absolute and total 100% focus on a spiritual existence, as if the physical realm, the mental and psychological realms, the social realms, none of those have any realness to them. It's only purely spiritual practice. And that doesn't work. I've never seen that work. I don't know if you've ever seen that work, but I've never seen that actually work. And what I mean by work is I've never seen it be a open, inviting, and welcoming model for others to attain their liberation. It doesn't work that way. There are ascetics that live in the hills that have come to great depth of understanding within the spiritual realm, but they could not have done that completely isolated and on their own, right? We are interconnected beings, just as all of the planes of our existence is interconnected, like that Venn diagram. We are interconnected as a greater organism that's part of a greater organism that's part of a greater organism, and it's all interconnected. That's not woo-woo science. I'm just stating what I see to be a reality that you and I do affect one another. And whether you and I ever meet or know each other, someone's picking the fruit, someone's driving the food, someone's rinsing the food, someone's packaging food, someone's selling food. I am eating food. I am composting what I don't eat. That's going into, my compost pile, which is regenerating small amounts of soil. And the more of us that are doing this, that soil is capturing carbon and it's locking it in. Like all of these things, all of these levels of existence we can come in and out of because we're in them all of the time, all at once. So to me, it's never seemed to work to just focus on one aspect. So this is where things like Thich Nhat Hanh's engaged Buddhism comes into play. The ability to understand the teachings as this is the work that I have to do first internally, but I have to externalize that work to the world. And this is what the challenge is for us all right now. Not whether you're Buddhist or not, whether you have Buddhist practices or not, that's not the concern. It doesn't matter. Uh, this is a call to be a better atheist, to be a better Christian, to be a better Jew, to be a better Muslim, to be a better Baha'i. Wherever you land on any spectrum of spirituality, the Practices are open, inviting, and welcoming to all because they do not discern who is righteous and worthy of receiving the practice. Everybody is. And there is no level of achievement that you get that is places you above or below anybody else. The practices are to find our way into the most honest communication we can have for the needs that we do find, and to be able to understand our role and responsibility within the relationships that are created from that communication. That's a little wordy, but let me try it again in a less wordy way. We have to find our place and our responsibility in the relationship to the world. And if we would like to be living in a world that is air conditioned all of the time and doesn't have any sour smells and has nobody that we see that is suffering in our streets, then we are going to have a very, very difficult time with the struggles that are here. If we want to create a world or live in a world where we can withstand the discomfort of these situations and bring forth the bounty of our love and meet our needs while also meeting the needs of one another, then this is the practices that we can develop. And that again requires us to be able to identify our need underneath our reaction, identify the need underneath our response, and let that need inform the way we communicate our offering. Because our need is an offering. How does that work? Well, if you express a need, I need water, and I have water, then I am now in the position that I can share the bounty of water with you, which makes me not only feel good on one plane of existence, but that brushes against all of the other ones, but it also ensures that I am not withholding something that's going to benefit the greater good. That won't benefit me. I'm not going to benefit from having 5 times, let alone a billion times the amount of resources that one person could use in a lifetime. That's not going to benefit me. It's actually a burden. It's a terrible burden. The idea that you are in control of and hoarding all of these resources, that's a burden on levels I can't imagine right now. It's a hard one for me to identify with. And this is part of my struggle, is being able to have compassion for billionaires, because I don't know many people that probably suffer as much as they do in a lot of ways. And I know that sounds really glib and it sounds like I'm not paying attention, but I can't imagine what must live in the heart of a person who needs to take more and more while so many are being taken from. That's, I don't know. So I need to find my compassion there. I'll do that work. It's coming up. But in the meantime, when your need is expressed, it's an offering to allow others to connect. And part of my cosmology, my makeup is that if I can be of service to you, then I am being of service to me, and I am being of service to the whole, and I am being of service to God. You don't need God to follow in that lineage. You can be of service to the whole without ever even thinking about some other divine being. That's fine. It leads to the same ends. It leads to the same place where we are meeting one another's needs. We are having our needs met. And this is a level of engagement that is real and it has a greater effect. When we're stuck in that realm of debate and argument, there's nothing real that's occurring there. There's nothing, there's no exchange. You're not even exchanging information. You're blocking and defending. It's like, I remember when my brother was in the first Gulf War, Desert Storm, I would watch the war on TV, and they would show these scenes of, like, you know, the the poorer armies had Scud missiles, and they would go up, and they were, uh, I guess, a little bit clumsier, and we had these highly targetable missiles that we could target straight at whatever we want. So we'd see you know, a $1 million missile go in the air, and we'd shoot it down with a $3 million missile. We win. It's a thing, but that's what we're doing. It's the same thing. We're lobbing missiles and shooting them down in midair. We're not exchanging information. We're not exchanging needs. We're not communicating our needs. We're not communicating our offerings. When we're arguing Trump versus Biden as if they are somehow the queens on a chessboard, they're made of the same material. They're made of the same material you and I are. Why are we even including them in our discussion? Let's discuss our needs that we have right here in this relationship, in this community, in this larger county, in this state, in this country, in this world, right? Let those concentric circles start to bleed outward with that level of loving care and communication. And that has to start with being uncomfortable in your own body and not running away from it. So 22 minutes into this rambling rant, I feel pretty good about it because I've been really uncomfortable in my body the last few weeks. I've had a lot of things coming up for me. I received a diagnosis of something called polycythemia vera. And I haven't told everybody this yet, so this is an opening to talk about that. But basically, a diagnosis is an observation of symptoms and then a rough approximate idea of what it probably is that's causing all of these symptoms at the same time. That's what diagnoses are. But what it does do is it gives me a bit of peace of mind that I can now understand how all of these different systems that were seeming to fail were responding to one another, trying to meet their needs and doing it in a way that was really unhealthy. That's a metaphor if I've ever heard one. So now in my body, I have all these little systems that I'm working with. I'm having to go inward and do a little more system work. And that's bringing up a lot of emotional work. And that's bringing up a lot of psychological work. So the ability to share this work with others through this platform is really helpful to me. And I hope it's helpful to somebody else. But this work isn't just talking about these things and blabbering on. This work is partially also letting go of all of these things for moments of time. We need to let go, not use our mind as if it is the most important thing, because it's not. It's just a thing. The mind is just a thing. Your thoughts are just a thing. Your beliefs, it's just a thing. It's not a bigger thing or smaller thing. So stop giving it so much importance that it's making you miserable. I don't know a lot of people who give their thought and their beliefs so much importance that it actually informs them to have a more joyful life. Most people I know that have the most joyful life don't put so much weight on their thoughts and their beliefs. They put a lot more equanimity into the experience of living. And the most joyous people I know are able to smile at someone and make that person smile back at them. And now there's two beings observing each other with love. And that just grew love. They're like planting the seed of love everywhere they go. And they're joyful because of that. They're not perfect beings. They don't they don't not suffer. They don't not have thoughts. They don't not have opinions. They have all these things, but they just don't put as much importance and weight on all of their opinions and their beliefs. They let it balance a little bit more. And this practice of sitting in silence with breath and just letting go of our misgivings and letting go of our need to take in information, this is really healthy stuff. So I think we should sit together for just a few minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up some background music so it can help us to have something for our thoughts to fall back on when they do start to rise in the perceived importance. And we can just begin to let that go. Our perceptions, they're just there to give us a gentle guidance. They're not there to dominate our upcoming experience. So, in this experience that we're having right now, bring yourself into a meditation posture. And our meditation posture today is not a rigid form. Today, the meditation posture is simply finding a place of balance in our body. That balance means that place of the least amount of stress or strain. So hold our body in a way that allows our breath to freely come in and fill our body and to freely leave our body. Straightening the spine a bit, letting the shoulders relax. Placing the palms facing upwards so that we gently roll our shoulder blades together just enough to open the chest and open the heart. Breathing in through the nose, filling the belly and then the chest. And releasing from the mouth. Don't feel the air on your skin as an attack. Just let that be. Isn't it interesting how even our perception of what's happening changes when we change the narrative? Breathing in and breathing out. Anytime the thoughts start to become stronger, simply bring your focus to the breath. So really, that's all there is. Just feel the breath as it moves in through your nose and filling your chest and your lungs, as the diaphragm pulls down, filling your abdomen. Feel into all of the aspects of the breath, and you'll find that the thoughts that were so important, that they were intruding upon your practice, now have relaxed and lessened and floated on by. Thanks, everybody, for joining in on this practice today. You can stay here as long as you'd like. Do this 2 or 3 times today. See how it changes your internal landscape, to just bring yourself to a place where you're not bringing in information on purpose. You're not overcrowding your systems. You're not over engaging as a way to reject or as a way to avoid. Just being. No phone, no scrolling, no emailing, none of the things that feel like they are so important. Give them time and space to be done, but give yourself a break. Let your body go into the parasympathetic nervous system and to engage in a restful way, to begin to digest and eliminate. This is vital. So, thanks for sharing this practice. Please reach out to me if you'd like to talk. You are welcome to email me at journeyhomemeditation@gmail.com. Yeah, I appreciate when I get your emails. You can also reach out through the Spotify app. On each episode, there is a link to leave a voice message, and you can do that right through your phone or computer. And I can actually play those on the morning sit. If you have a question or a comment or want to engage with some ideas, I'd be happy to share those here on the program. It always makes it for a more lively and engaged space when you are taking part. And you are important, and I'd really love to hear your voice. So, all of that said, I appreciate you all very much. Hariom.